But that's actually how I met my best friend, Lily. And you guys have met her. She's the girl I told you about. I talk about her a lot. We've been best friends since we were 13 because we met through Instagram because we both found a hospitality as well. And she is so ashamed of this information. I'm going to have to run this past her, but she's so ashamed of this information. Even when we did, she was like, tell it to me. We have this whole fabricated story to tell people because when we were growing up and we were like 15, 16, and everyone was like, how the fuck do you guys know each other? Like, you don't live near each other. We would tell people that our names were co-workers. And that worked for us for a long time, but now as a lie, we're still lying. Like, surely it's like funny and cute now because we're not the same age, but like, whatever. That's how me and my we both have friends. And we actually had a whole group of friends from these fan accounts. I'm still friends with most of them today. We have still been on chat. We've been discussing the new album. We don't talk every day or every month or even every 6 months, but we do stay in touch. And I met them all. We all went and hung out in New York when we turned 18. We've all been friends since we were like 12 and 13. So it's just like the sweetest little friend group that I have, and some of the like most intimate friendships that I have as well, because we just usually fucking tell each other everything. We talked every day for like 3 years straight. Now, at the same period of my life, when I was having this fan account and I was obsessed with gummies, I actually was housebound. I've talked a little bit about that before as well. I was housebound for 3 years. I had such bad anxiety and panic attacks that I dropped out of school when I was 13 years old. I literally couldn't leave the house for 3 straight years. And I was also out of education for those years because even though my mum enrolled me in like homeschooling, it just wasn't happening. Like, I just wasn't being homeschooled because I was so anxious. Like, I couldn't even leave my bed without having a panic attack. Like, I had a desk in my room and I remember I couldn't even sit at the desk without panicking. So that was where I was at. It was awful for 3 years, and this whole time I was obsessed with Girl Meets World. And it got to a point of my obsession where I wanted to be them so bad. Like, I needed to steal their souls, okay? That I asked my mum, like, can I please go back to school? Because obviously the whole school, if you haven't seen Girl Meets World, the whole thing circulates around these 2 girls going to school. And I was so obsessed with it. I was like, please, you have to put me back at school. Like, I need to go back to school. My mum was like, bitch, you can't even fucking go to the grocery store. What do you mean you want to go back to school? I begged her. She signed me up for a school in a whole new district because my local one wouldn't let me come back. It was a whole thing. So she signed me up for this whole new school. I'd never been there before. I didn't know anybody. It was like an hour away from my house. And I started going. And I was so excited. But I forgot that I was actually still very mentally ill and still completely not being treated for that. So obviously within like a week of me starting this new school, I couldn't go anymore because, bitch, you still have panic attacks. What the fuck were you thinking? So I stopped going off for like 3 days. But because this was a new school in a new district with new resources, they were like, are you okay? And I was like, no. And they were like, oh, well, there's this school for mentally ill kids and you qualify, bitch. You're gonna go there instead of coming here. So off I went, and it was the craziest experience. They would pick me up in a taxi, and it would be me and like 4 other kids that were like completely fucking mentally ill, like so unwell. And then we would all be packed in the back of this fucking taxi and be shipped off an hour down the road to this tiny little school with a capacity of maybe 20 kids a day, and we would be sat in there, all the staff were mental health trained. It was a really nice environment actually, and we would be taught 2 days a week, and then on the other days we would have tutors sent to our house, and we would be sent home with a laptop so that we could do basically like internet school, like basically what everyone did during like the pandemic, like basically Zoom. And then after doing that for about a year, I finally was ready to transition back to my original school, and that's where I finished out my education. I always think back to the fact that that happened for me and that all those events transpired, ultimately enabling me to get an education, get my exams, get qualifications, and then go about my life as normal, you know, whilst I healed in the meantime. If I hadn't had that intervention of that mentally ill people's school, I don't actually know what the right term for it is. Forgive my, like, brush. Is it brush? I don't know, whatever the fuck. Sorry, I don't actually know what the fuck you're meant to call those things. I don't know what it was called. It was like a flexible learning center. I think that's what they called it. But it was just for kids who were struggling with, like, their mental health. It was no one that was, like, chronically ill, I don't think. And I don't think it was anyone who was, like, naughty, because there was a school for the naughty kids, and that wasn't the one. This one was very specific, and it facilitated me so nicely. Like, that's why when I talk about Sabrina Carpenter and I'm like, no, you don't understand, I love this bitch. It's because, weirdly, she had this actual effect on my life, where obviously it wasn't her, it was, you know, a it was a TV show, but like anyway, Sabrina Carpenter just makes me nostalgic, and she just had like this really weird effect on my life. I'm not really a fangirl, like there's no one else I've ever really been like that for. I've never felt compelled to make a fan account for anyone. I've never really dabbled in like fandom culture. Like it's not something that I care about now. Like when I love someone, I just don't even think to follow them on Instagram. It's so weird how obsessed I was with Girl Meets World. It wasn't even Sabrina Carpenter at the time. It was just Girl Meets World. It was just the fact that they could go to school and you couldn't. Like I was so intrigued by it. And I always like credit it weirdly because I'm like, if I hadn't got my life together when I did, like if I didn't work as hard as I did to get better the way that I did and when I did, I wouldn't have the life I have now. Because I just think back and I'm like, when I finally left the mental ill school and I went back to the regular school, I only had 6 months before my final exams. Basically in the UK, you're American, you do like a big set of exams right before the end of what would be your sophomore year, and that determines if you can like go on and do the next stage of study. It's kind of fucked up actually. But and then your senior year and your, what the fuck is the other?